Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video. Today we actually have something that I'm really excited for actually a few different reasons. This is a new feature that's been added to the Broken Shore in the patch 7.2 PTR, and it actually represents Blizzard doing something that kind of meets, or at least, addresses one of the concerns that really, for a long-standing period, I have had with the game. And in this video, I'll be talking about the actual feature itself, giving you a quick little look at some of the rewards from the Broken Shore, though they are very PTR at the minute, and also having a bit of a game design sort of discussion about what they're doing and how I think it could be a decently exciting indication for the future if it works out well. So, what is it? There is this Legion spaceship called the Centenax. You can see a map icon for it in the Broken Shore now, and basically this ship will patrol around the island. Now, the areas underneath it get kind of like little reinforcements, like sort of beams of fire coming down from above, but also mobs in the areas underneath the ship will from time to time drop these Centenax like reinforcement beacon things. Now, when these beacons are used, they're items that are just put into your bag like any other item. Whenever they're used, they open a portal near the ship. And out of that portal, a whole bunch of enemies will spawn, and a few waves of them will spawn, and then the portal will disappear, which seems okay. But the enemies that you kill that come out of that portal will more than likely drop a new Centenax beacon that is maybe a greater version, which will then spawn elite mobs out of a portal. There's other types of beacons. There are ones that actually spawn in Starlight Rose. I got one that spawned in a whole bunch of Bloods of Sargeras, but it quite literally killed my character, which was fun. And there's also ones which will spawn in mobs with, at least for us, about 310 million health, so basically world boss tier mobs. Unfortunately, the world bosses didn't drop anything. Now you might be wondering, what's the point of all this? Why is it good and all of that? Well, first of all, what is the point? All of these mobs drop nether shards. Now, nether shards are basically your new one of the new currencies. You've got Legionfall resources, which are used to build the new buildings in this patch, but these nether shards are used on one of the vendors, and they basically purchase gear that, at the minute, is similar to what the Tanan stuff was. It's item level 835. Whenever you right-click on the token, that will spawn a bit of gear, which I then assume can Titan Forge up to a higher item level. Just like the Tanan stuff, of course, I'm not really a fan of something like that because it's just kind of entering your own personal time into a slot machine. Whether you get an 835 or an 860, there's absolutely no skill or thought put into that. It's just the game bestowing a reward upon you, so I don't really like that. But basically, all of the mobs from these Centenax portals drop nether shards, so it seems like instead of world quests, though I assume that nether shards will be added to the world quests, but one of the ways that I suppose you can farm up more of these nether shards is doing these Centenax portals. Now here's the reason, and I suppose the game design discussion to be had around why I like it. So currently there's a lot of very static content in Legion. Even the new invasions in patch 7.2 are very static in nature. They're just a bunch of world quests. The input of other players just does not matter whatsoever. Now, one thing that I really like in MMOs is solo cooperative gameplay. What does that mean? Well, it's cooperative gameplay that happens naturally when you are playing the game solo. So even though you are on your own, you're not talking to people in Discord or something like that, you are playing the game with other players, and there is some sort of mutual beneficial gain to be had when you actually help out other players. One thing that Legion did, which helped this out, was change the mob tapping rules so that basically, you could share taps between players, which meant that, if two players kill a mob, they both get credit, which means that you are, in that moment, you're cooperating with that player. And this is something that Guild Wars 2 did upon launch to great effect. Now, what's cool about all these Centenax portals is they're a bit like that. The more players that are in the area, well, you're cleaving down loads of mobs, which means more players are getting Centenax reinforcement beacons, which means that even more mobs are spawned in via even more portals, meaning that people get the empowerment beacons, which will empower the mobs in the portals and extend their duration, and it basically just keeps on going, and it starts to really feel like a battle. You've maybe got 15, 20, 25 players all playing the game together. And what's nice about this is that it's not static, it's dynamic. The more player sort of inputs, that are actually done, then the more sort of outputs the game system has, which means that it's got this really cool kind of pace to it. The faster you play and the faster the people around you play, then the more portals spawn in, the more nether shards you get, and it just keeps on going. Now, the one, I guess, slight complaint that I have right now is I think that the difficulty could really increase a lot. At the end of the day, this will most likely be played with, I'd say, actually 10 to 30 players. The way that this works is that because it's always underneath this ship, which you can see on your map, it sort of gathers players into that area. So I think they could maybe spawn in some more dangerous mobs, or perhaps mobs that were a little bit more designed around group mechanics. So mobs that, do a tiny little cleave, or, a small insignificant attack. I don't think that's really that interesting. What I think would be cooler is just more kind of large group mechanics, even if they were to borrow a few things, like a few ideas from raids, but not necessarily to a super punishing degree. Now, I was doing this on a hunter without a pet, but I did have survivability legendaries, which meant that I wasn't dying, which I guess was pretty handy. I might imagine maybe it could get a bit hairy if you're a melee player or something like that, but overall, just what I like about this is that it's dynamic. The more players do shit, the more the game kind of rewards you, and it's got that cooperative yet solo type of gameplay. What I would love to see is Blizzard expanding that idea and that kind of content to way more parts of the game. As an example, look at the current world quests. Right now, not that interesting. They're static, it doesn't matter if you do them with other players, none of those inputs matter. What I would rather have is that on top of the world quests, you maybe add some sort of shared events, or like shared stuff between all players there. Whenever you complete one event, maybe it causes something else to pop up. So if you do a bunch of these like shared event world quests against the Valajar, then maybe like a very cool boss will, or with the Valajar or whatever, but maybe a very cool boss spawns at the end. Something that's actually acknowledging the fact that a whole bunch of players are doing something together. I think things like that are very good for the design of an MMO, and it's somewhere where other elements, or other games in the MMO sort of industry or genre have completely outstripped World of Warcraft. There are times when WoW feels very static, very boring. It's really fun when you're in a group with other people doing instance content, but the static stuff, it's just so known to players at this stage that it doesn't matter if a new patch is a new zone, it will feel the same. I think content like what we see here, hopefully taken a lot further in its scope and ambition, is the kind of thing that could be good for the future of the game, and hopefully this is a test of the viability of that. But anyway, that's it for this video. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.